Yo, what's up? Avian here, and today I got you guys my second picks and predictions video. In the first video, I predicted 12 games. I went 10-2, which isn't that bad, to be honest. I usually choose all the top games of the week or the games I think that are going to be the best. And this week, I only got 9, but they're all pretty solid games. So let's get right into it, guys. Alright, for the first game, I have Clemson and NC State. Clemson I have 4th in my poll, and I have NC State at the 12th spot. And how I do these videos, guys, I'm just going to throw it on the screen what I think the prediction's going to be, and then I talk about it. So I'm going to throw that up at the beginning of every matchup I talk about. But I do have Clemson being NC State in Death Valley, and the reason I do have them winning is just because I think NC State is a little overrated. They haven't been playing their best football this year. They definitely haven't played to the standard that a lot of people thought that they'd be playing with. I mean, Clemson too, everyone thought Clemson was going to be better, especially their defense and their offense a little bit. I do think their offense is a little better. They had a good game against Wake Forest. DJ Uyunglele played very well against the crappy Wake Forest defense, and he kind of played well against them last year. So we still got to see if he can keep that consistency up. I know NC State's defense is better, so he's going to have a little bit more of a test, but they are at home and they've won like 36 straight home games. Devin Leary's going to have the game of his life, and they're going to have to move the ball to beat Clemson. I know that defense is going to play better than it did last week, because last week Wake Forest just passed all over Clemson, and it was sad. I know they had a bunch of freshmen in and they're getting guys back, but that was a lot to give up against a defense that everyone said was going to be like the best in the country. And then for Clemson, they just have to get the run game going. If they can get the run game going, I think it's going to open up a lot for DJ, and he's going to get comfortable fast. But if Will Shipley isn't able to run the ball, I think they're going to have a tough time. And then you see ESPN has the under of this game, Clemson minus 6.5, and they gave them an 83.5 chance of winning, and I do have them covering that. After that game, I have Alabama versus Arkansas. Arkansas coming in this game after their loss to Texas A&M, so I hope they're ready to play, but I do have Alabama winning this game by 11 on the road. Alabama also has a 93% chance of winning according to FPI. I know Alabama has been having road struggles this year and last year, but I also just believe that Arkansas is overrated. I don't think their offense is that good. Their defense also isn't really that good. And I think they're going to be a little burnt or a little pissed off about last week, and it might cloud their judgment. I do have Arkansas covering, though. I only have Alabama winning by 11, minus 17. I don't think Alabama's going to win by more than 11, to be honest. I think that's the highest margin that they have, but I think their defense is good enough to hold Arkansas to only 20 points if there's no turnovers. And obviously Bryce Young is great, and Alabama's going to score points. And I just think they're going to score more than Arkansas. But I do think it's going to be a solid game. KJ Jefferson, Hazelwood, Saunders, they're going to have the games of their lives to beat Alabama. And then honestly, let's just see if they can get it done. Up next, I got an interesting one. I have Wake Forest going into Tallahassee to play Florida State. Florida State's ranked for the first time in a while, and I do have the Demon Deacons beating them 42-38. I think this is their first loss of the year. I think Wake Forest is better than people think. They definitely showed that against Clemson, and I think their offense is just going to be a little too dynamic for Florida State to handle. Florida State does have some good defensive players, especially a defensive end that's really freaking good that they picked up somewhere else. But in terms of how like ESPN did their spread, they have Florida State winning this game by 7, and the FPI favors them at 57%. I do think both teams are going to be able to score, obviously, but I just think Wake Forest is better on offense, and then their defense is going to be able to hold a little bit. Next, we got Baylor and Oklahoma State. Now, this game was kind of a toss-up for me. I think Baylor is the better team overall if you take their defense and offense like combined, but Oklahoma State is the better offense. And then Baylor is also at home. I know Baylor beat them last year in the championship game, and Oklahoma State's probably trying to get revenge. And I definitely think Saunders is going to have a really good game for Oklahoma State. I do think their defense will step up. I just don't think it'll be enough. I think Baylor is going to be able to hold them, and they're going to be able to score, especially since Oklahoma State defense isn't what it was last year. I could be wrong, but I think it's kind of a toss-up. Baylor's favored by 2.5. They also have a 65% chance of winning according to FPI. I do have them covering by winning by 3, and I think Blake Shapen is just going to have this team in the right spot to win, and I do think that they'll win. After that, I have the battle of the overrateds. We got Kentucky against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is actually favored in this game by 7, and they also have a 78.5% chance of winning according to FBI. I do have Ole Miss winning just because they're at home. That is the only reason I have them winning. Their offense and defense have looked terrible. They haven't been tested at all. They're barely beating teams like Tulsa. It's just not been good for Ole Miss, and Kentucky is like their first real team. Even though Kentucky is also struggling, against crappy teams. They played bad against Northern Illinois. They played bad against Youngstown State. They did beat Florida, but Florida's overrated. They're not that good of a team, but they're definitely better than all the teams that Ole Miss beat. So this game was kind of just a toss-up for me. Like I said, I have Ole Miss pulling out in the end, maybe a game-winning field goal, something like that, and I have them taking this game. They just need Jackson Dart to have a decent game while Evans is just able to run the ball. That's all they really need to do. And then on Kentucky's side, all they have to do is get Will Levis going and their run game going as well. Granted, I do think Kentucky's defense is better than Ole Miss, but I think Ole Miss's offense is still a little bit better than Kentucky's, and then they got the home field advantage. And I don't know, something about this game just tells me Ole Miss is going to win. Up next, I got Michigan against Iowa. Michigan I have ranked as the 5th best team in the country, right behind Clemson. Vegas has Michigan winning this game by 11 and giving them a 77% chance of winning. Now, I think this game is more tricky than a lot of people think because Iowa's defense is really good. They have one of the best defenses in the nation, and JJ McCarthy is just making like his 3rd start ever with Michigan, and he did not look that good last week against Maryland. He held the ball too long, he ran around too much. You're not going to be able to do that against Iowa, especially in their stadium. They cause turnovers, and I expect him to make a lot of mistakes. I do expect him to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times. It could be 2 interceptions and a fumble or something like that, but Iowa's offense is so bad that I don't think they're going to be able to score at all. They're going to score off of those turnovers, and that's it. They might have a pick 6. They might have a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Their offense might only score 3 points, and their defense might score more, or the other way around. And that's the only reason I have Michigan winning. I have them winning 17-13. I do not have them covering. I do still think Michigan's defense is good. I just do not think their offense is going to be able to do enough to really like blow this game open like a lot of people think that they are. And then obviously Iowa doesn't have an offense, so Spencer Petras, everything they have going on offense is just wrong, and Michigan's defense is competent enough to keep them basically scoreless in this game. So that's why I have it 17-13. And after that game, I have another odd one. We have Texas A&M going into Mississippi State. Mississippi State is actually favored to win this game, and they have the FBI favorite to win this game as well. I have them winning 26-20. I have them covering that 3.5, and that's just because their offense. I know Texas A&M has a really good defense, and their defensive line is insane. It's going to be insane for years to come too, but I just don't think they're good enough to stop Mississippi State the entire game, and they just don't have an offense. Texas A&M's offense is garbage. Whether it's Haynes King, whether it's Max Johnson, or anybody else starting at quarterback, they're just not that good. A-Chain is okay, and they're missing like their best receiver or something like that in this game, so I really don't think that they're going to score as much. Mississippi State's defense isn't that good, so I am giving them like 20 points. I just don't think they're going to win, and Mississippi State's probably going to jump high on the rankings just for beating Texas A&M, and Texas A&M is probably going to fall out. So really for Mississippi State to win, all they have to do is throw the ball successfully with Will Rogers, and he has like 3 touchdowns and no turnovers. If he does that, they win this game. Next up after that game, we got OU going to TCU. TCU is undefeated, and they're not that bad of a team. I also don't think they're that good, but OU loses to bad teams. That's kind of just their narrative, especially teams named Kansas State, you know, losing 3 out of the last 4 against them. And I know everyone really thinks that OU is going to come in here and destroy TCU because of how bad they played last week, and Brent Venables is going to have them like fired up. And I do think that's the case, like maybe in the beginning, but I do think TCU, since they're being at home and they have a decent offense, I think they're going to be able to do something and keep it closer than people really think. And that's why I only have Oklahoma winning by 5 points. TCU is going to cover that, but I do think Oklahoma gets back on track. They start winning again. They have a couple hard games coming up, but this one is definitely one not to take for granted. Gray has to run well, Dylan Gabriel has to play well, and Oklahoma's defense just has to improve. They cannot let TCU score in the 40s or they will lose again. And finally, the last game in this video, I have Iowa State going to Kansas. I do have Kansas ranked 25th in the nation, and shame on the people for not ranking Kansas. They're 4-0, they've looked good. Jalen Daniels is looking great. He has the best QBR in the whole damn country, and they still have Iowa State picked to win this game by 3 points, and they give them a 61% chance of winning, even though Kansas is the better team just because their name is Kansas. Kansas by far has the better offense. They might not have the better defense. Iowa State's got the better defense, but they have the better offense. Iowa State's offense is anemic and it's not that good, and they're playing at home. I don't get why so many people are disrespecting Kansas. I know a lot of analysts online don't know why Kansas is getting the disrespect that they're getting, but the reason why is just because they're named Kansas and they've been terrible the past 12 years. They haven't had a winning season, or they haven't won more than like 3 games in like a decade. But you got to give a team its props if they're playing well and they're beating teams. They beat West Virginia, they beat Houston. Houston was supposed to be the best group of 5 team, and just with all that being said, I have Kansas winning 30-24. They're covering, they're the better team, they're going to beat Iowa State, and they're going to be ranked next week. Now guys, like I said, last week. I'm 10-2 predicting, and I'm feeling pretty good about this week. This is the end of the video though. I really do hope you guys enjoy. Leave a comment, like, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think I got wrong. And also let me know if you guys have any ideas for videos in the future that you guys want to see, any teams that I should do a video on. And you can do that by supporting the Patreon in the description. It really does help me out. I do have a new series starting next week, so look out for that. It's going to be right after the video I make on the top 25 on Sunday morning, and I think you guys are really going to love it. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.